Show.
Mississippi State loses 34-24 to Texas A&M. Michael Van Buren was 22 of 41 for 242, had 3 touchdowns and an interception. Mississippi State ran the football okay. They did an okay job running the football against that Texas A&M front. Had 125 yards rushing. Booth had 80 of those on 12 carries. That's almost 7 per carry. Daniels had 50 on 13. That's almost 4 yards per carry. Receiving, Kevin Coleman for Mississippi State had 90 yards on 8 catches and a touchdown. Akari had 45 yards on 3 catches. Craver had 42 yards on 5 catches and a touchdown. Booth also caught a touchdown as well. On the other side, Connor Wegman, 217 yards passing on 15 of 25, had a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He is lucky that members of Mississippi State secondary has bricks for hands, because that 2 interceptions should have been at least 5.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, it should have been at least 5. Mississippi State did a good job stopping the run. 137 rushing yards for Texas A&M on 3.8 per carry. Moss had 65 on 17 carries. That's under 4. Daniels had 47 on 12 carries. That is also under 4 yards per carry. So a good job of stopping the run for Mississippi State's defense. Barber led the way for A&M receiving, 92 yards on just 6 receptions. Thomas had a couple of catches for 37 yards. Spread the ball around a little bit, but there's only 15 receptions to spread it around to. So Mississippi State defensively, actually, this is a really good box score for them. So now that the stats, or at least the overarching stats, are out of the way, hey, Dad, what did you see on Saturday in Mississippi State's 10-point loss, which is a cover, by the way?
Yeah, that you got to look deeper than the box score, because it was not a good defensive day for Mississippi State. And one stat that would be on the box score that would show that is third down conversions. 9 of 14 was what Texas A&M was, and at one point they were 8 of 8. State could not get off the field. When you look at the total yardage in this game, you got to take into account that A&M had 2 drives start, one at the 25 of Mississippi State and one at the 32 after an interception and after the fake punt call, which went horribly awry for Jeff Lebby and his team. State just, offensively, they were really, really good in the first half. A&M made some defensive adjustments in the second half. They decided we're just going to bring pressure nonstop on Michael Van Buren, and it worked. And that's why State was slow to do anything in the second half offensively. But defensively is where State lost this game, as they have all season long. They just cannot get stops. They cannot get off the field. When they have an opportunity to get off the field, either they're missing tackles or they're blowing coverages, or they just can't get their hands on the ball and bring it in to create a turnover. And that's just the story of the season for Mississippi State. I like Van Buren. I like what I saw there. I said on Friday they had to run the football better. They did, especially with Booth, who finally got something going for the first time this season. Coleman is on pace to catch 85, 86, 87 passes this year. He's really good. We'll see if Craver's going to be healthy. He went down in the game Saturday, and then, of course, Lebby with no update today. He'll say he'll update us on Wednesday when they put out the report. Mississippi State can win this weekend. They can beat Arkansas. They had a chance. They had moments in that game Saturday where you thought, well, if they could do this, they could get the win. It's just a situation where defensively they can't get stops, and offensively they can't go score for score some of the time. I thought the fake punt I thought the play call was bad. I think if you're going to go for it there, just leave your offense out there on the field. You're not likely to convert a fake punt there. But what that showed to me is that Jeff Lebby had no faith in Coleman Hutzler and his defense. He's just like, I know they're not going to get a stop. I got to try to keep the ball here, so I'll do this. Like I said, I don't disagree with the decision. I disagree with the play call. But that shows you where Mississippi State is. You just cannot trust this defense at all.
So on that, because I'm with you, I thought that it's easy to criticize a fake punt call when it doesn't work, right? And when it does, you look like a genius. But A&M was not at all surprised or caught off guard by that whatsoever. I mean, it really just did not catch them off at all. And I would think that you would have a better chance at converting. What was it, a 4th and 7 or 4th and 8? Something like that. So 4th and long, but I think you have a better chance of converting that with the ball in your quarterback's hands than snapping it to the up back and hoping that he can get the edge against a very talented Texas A&M defense / punt return team.
Right.
call me crazy, I think I would have punted there. And here's why. The possession before, I know A&M scored, and what was it, a 3rd and 26 that they converted?
Yeah.
But Wegman should have thrown 3 interceptions on that possession alone. There was something that State was doing in the secondary. I don't know if he was telegraphing passes or what, where I think you kind of had him in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
And so make them work a little bit longer, because he showed you on the possession, a couple possessions before, that he's about to make a mistake. Like, it's about to happen. It's about to happen. So I don't think a punt there would have been a bad decision either. Now, it's easy to criticize in hindsight, of course, because it ultimately didn't work out. But I do think that there was a chance there if they punt the football, because Wegman was, I don't know if he was telegraphing or what, but State had him there for a while wanting to turn that football over.
Wegman had such a great week against Missouri that I was wondering, well, maybe he's finally starting to figure it all out. And then State, he did not play well against Mississippi State. He missed some guys. I don't attribute it much to Mississippi State. They weren't able to pressure him. State has 5 sacks on the season. 5 through 7 games. That is almost impossible when you think about it. But State just doesn't get any pressure. So Wegman had a clean pocket all day. There were times, and Robbie Falk, who's sitting next to me in the press box, he points out, when you see the quarterback take a second to kind of do the shoulder, and he's loading up, right? Because he's got time, and he can look down the field and find those guys that are open deep.
And they were able to convert 3rd down after 3rd down after 3rd down in that game. So we'll continue to talk about this one. Also, I've noticed that, look, it was a cover. It's a top 15 team in State. They didn't win the game. There's no moral victories in the SEC, but they kept it close. But I think, if I'm reading correctly, the fan base is kind of over a close but no cigar, and they want it to change into an actual result. Maybe not against A&M, but with Arkansas coming
this
to
week
town,
needs to be a result. I would agree.
Yeah, that result needs to start coming soon. We'll keep talking about. There's one more thing. A lot of things with this game that we need to and want to talk about. But there was another decision. So you brought up the fake punt already and gave your take on that. It was the 4th and 20 inches or so.
Mm-hmm.
And A&M, Mississippi State went for it, which was the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
And A&M got the stop there.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's more complex than this, but it drives me crazy when you have 4th and this far and you're snapping the ball out of the gun, especially when your offensive line has shown that they are overmatched against that defensive front. You're just giving them more time to get penetration, and I know that it's not practiced very much. I would love to know how many snaps from under center Van Buren took in high school. I bet that number is tiny, if small at all. But still, don't you think that should be something that you are able to do when you need this much to trust that you can take a snap and have a quarterback just stick the ball out for a second to get yourself a first down and move the chains? I mean, snapping that out of the gun is more risky to me than having a quarterback do something that he doesn't practice all the time. You've got to be able to take an under center snap to get 18 inches.
You got to go a step further, too. You got to challenge the spot on 3rd down. And that reminded me a lot of Mullen's first year. Mississippi State fans who were there will remember that, where they had a game where they were playing Houston in a game, and Tyson Lee was called for an illegal forward pass. It's a reviewable play. Mullen did not review it. After the game, you watched the replay. He was clearly behind the line of scrimmage. It cost State a touchdown in a game that they lost by, I think, 7. So, somebody's got to be in Levy's ear there. Like, hey, let's review, call timeout. Let's review the spot here, because that's a huge play. I was very surprised. And I'm surprised the booth didn't review it as well. But, I mean, it's SEC officials, so, we'll talk more about them later, I'm sure. Two things that stand out to me about this game. And one is State is, I think, 125th nationally in defense, total defense. There's 133 schools. So they're 8 from the bottom. I have acknowledged many times on the show that there is a talent deficiency with this defense. They are not they're not even really a good SEC defense. They may not even be an SEC defense. They are not the 125th most talented team in the country. This is a coaching issue, 100%. And it's something I said all season long. It rings true today. If they were 80th in total defense, they might be 5-2 right now. Be well on their way to a bowl game.
It would not be 1-6.
Oh, for sure. I mean, 80th in total defense, beats Toledo, beats Arizona State, probably wins Saturday, and you might have a chance against Georgia, of all teams, with the 80th rate defense. But because you can't get stops, you're just handicapped from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that gets me about this season, and this is weird, right? But this time last year, State was 4-3. They're 4-3. They had beaten Arizona.
Which was a great win in hindsight.
Yeah, they had beaten Arkansas. They're 4-3. But if you ask Mississippi State fans, do they feel better at 4-3 last year or 1-6 this year? They will take the 1-6. The feeling around the program is that they'll fix the defense in the offseason. Levy obviously knows what he's doing offensively. He'll continue to attract talent there, and they'll be fine. This time last year, it was like, what the heck is going on? Like, we can't get Arnett out of here fast enough.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how that works, but that is exactly where Mississippi State fans are today.
Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you this, too, because you said it. Texas A&M, it felt like when the third quarter started, because State's touchdown in the second half was off of a turnover.
Yeah, they got a short field off of the interception, yes.
It looked like A&M decided this is a young quarterback, and that offensive line can't protect him. It's time to get after his you-know-what.
That is exactly what you have to assume the discussion was in the locker room. I mean, brought pressure. I think 4 deflected passes in the second half. Just they couldn't protect him, and State can't do enough in the running game to keep him honest.
Yeah.
So they loaded up the box and then brought pressure, and there was just nothing Mississippi State can do there.
So is that a blueprint?
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, if State's weak on the offensive line, teams should pressure them. I don't feel like that's. I don't feel like A&M.
But like Georgia didn't. It felt like Georgia's pressure that you saw against Texas was not the same pressure that they brought.
No, you're right. And I don't know if maybe that's part of Kirby just like, look, we can win this with 4. I don't need to blitz against this team. But by and large for State, I would expect that Michael Van Buren, the clean pockets will not be plentiful for him the rest of the way.
He still continues to flash and show talent. He's a very talented player. Throws a good football. I wonder what kind of adjustments they're going to make to try to alleviate the pressure. Maybe get him out of the pocket some. Do things like that to help him. Avoid pressure because it was all over him in the second half.
I mean, people are telling me that, like, got to move the pocket, got to roll him out. I'm like, there's guys in the backfield immediately. He's just going to roll into pressure.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? It's just a talent. Offense, it is a talent issue. And they just don't have the talent up front on the offensive line to do everything they want to do offensively. That's what made the first half so interesting, was that they were able to move the football on that A&M defense. They ran the ball effectively. Van Buren had some time to throw. But when A&M made their adjustments in the locker room, it was just game over.
And so now in comes Arkansas, and I texted you like 3 minutes into the LSU-Arkansas game. Like,
I was just about to start post-game, yeah.
Yeah, LSU is better than it was obvious that LSU is better than Arkansas, and they're going to win this game handedly, and they did. This is a chance for Mississippi State on multiple levels. This is by far the worst team that they've played lately, anyway. They don't have defensively the talent that A&M was able to have. Now, they're playing better. Green's talented, all that. But I think that there's a real chance that if you get up and punch Arkansas in the mouth early, like State did against Texas A&M, that there's a better chance that the Q word comes into play with the Hogs than what you got with A&M this past weekend. I think that here is the opportunity that you've been talking about for 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
You're playing better, and it's okay in year one after the start that they had that you're not going to Athens and winning. It's even okay that you're not beating a top 15 Texas A&M. It's result time.
Yes. This is a game Mississippi State's going to look at and say, we can win this football game. And if you don't win this game, then you're realistically looking at 2-10. If you win this game, Robbie and I were talking about this it'll be on tomorrow's podcast. I would tell you that if State can win this game and they beat UMass to win 2 in a row, of their last 3 games at Tennessee, Missouri, home at Ole Miss, they'll get one of them. I really do believe they'll get one of them.
I think so too.
So they got to win this weekend. This is a pivotal game, just because it's going to be tough to sell 2-10 in the portal to recruits
Especially when you're trying to get defensive linemen who are they're very expensive. And I'm not saying I'm not doing that thing, but they just are expensive.
You're going to have to bring in a new defensive coordinator, and that's going to be, quick on the draw. You're going to have to get these guys in quickly and get them. You're going to really have to hire somebody with a resume, somebody that people know, because you can't play the unproven coach again. So.
To the text line we go, 601-879-4395, the C Spire text line. Please don't text and drive. Use your voice text feature. C Spire wants you to be a part of our show, but just do it safely. Somebody says the tackling was awful. Whatever happened to locking up or wrapping up? Either one for sure. These guys, including linebackers, shoulder tackle so gross, and they can't catch. It was too aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can be too aggressive when you're not as talented. You got to be aggressive. So I don't have an issue with that. But the tackling is an issue, and that's a coaching thing to me, 100%. If you're not coaching your guys properly to tackle, then what are you doing?
Yeah, it'd be different, and this, like you keep saying, this is a thing too. It'd be different if they're just a step slow. Yeah. But when they're there and it's just like putting their shoulder into a guy and that's all it is, that's behavior that has to be corrected.
Yes.
For sure. Chase says they aren't trouble off the field. They're also playing legit playoff contenders every week since Van Buren took over. They also have what should be Levy's most hamstrung roster. Defensively, and both lines of scrimmage are below serviceable rosters for this level, and they're still competitive at least. I'm historically negative Nancy. And another one, he follows up, would Brent Venables work for Levy, especially 1 year removed from being his boss?
So, and I was just about that's from our friend Chase in Columbus. I was just about to text him back. You remember in the offseason, we got to have some fun making fun of Oklahoma because they bid against themselves and extended Venables for no reason. His buyout's like $50 million. They're not gonna fire him.
That's crazy. Somebody says, I never thought I'd be this excited at 1-6, but I believe in Levy and MVP.
I think that's the other side of this coin, right? Is having a young quarterback like this builds excitement. People see the young coach and the young quarterback that get better together. You can sell that to people. You can sell that to recruits. You had a big one on campus this weekend that you're trying to sell that to.
Another one says, do you think Mississippi State should assign at least a GA to watch the play clock to call needed timeout? I'm sure they do, but it's part of the learning curve.
That's the head coach's job. GAs don't call timeouts.
And then real quick, we don't really have time to dive into this. Maybe we'll get into it later. What do you do with Shapen now? Van Buren looks the part. Do you tell Shapen to look elsewhere? Frankly,
absolutely not. You need an experienced backup. You don't want to just go into next year with Van Buren and Camario Taylor. You got to have Shapen.
But if Shapen wants to start,
he's going to probably have to go somewhere else.
Have to go somewhere else.
But you have a real competition in